One thing I've learned in my life is that hurt people hurt people. Those that have a wound inside of themselves oftentimes have a means of taking that pain that they have in their life and projecting it onto others. And in fact, I think if you look at that, it's probably the root cause of all the problems that we have in the world right now. But here's the other point, is that kindness is just as contagious. When we do acts of kindness for others, it not only makes the recipient feel better, but it makes us feel better and also has profound effect on the people that observe it. Hi everyone, Chris Natzke here with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching with your Mind of a Champion tip of the week. We live in a world today where being contagious is something that's constantly on the top of our minds. Just coming out of, and some would argue maybe going back into, the impacts of a worldwide pandemic has got many of us on edge about being contagious or being in contact with people that are contagious. But being contagious, in my mind, isn't always a bad thing. Let me explain. One of the things that I'm probably most proud of in my martial arts career is for the last 15 or 16 years, any one of my students who is going to be testing for black belt with me, they not only have to train for 3 to 3.5 years to get to the point to go through the process, but in the last 4 months prior to their black belt test, they have to go through some pretty intense training. They have to do 4,000 push-ups and 4,000 crunches during that 4-month period. They have to spar 120 rounds. They have to run 40 miles. But that's not what I'm most proud of. You see, we have this whole other element that helps them grow as human beings. They have to do a mentoring session for someone, 10 mentoring sessions. They have to eat clean for an entire week. No sugars, no processed foods, no alcohol. Getting 10-year-olds off beer is tough, but I make it happen. They have to do a day of empathy where they either spend a full 24-hour period being blind, deaf, mute, or in a wheelchair. But also what they have to do is they have to do 400 random acts of kindness. And in fact, for the last 15, 16 years, we've generated over 250,000 random acts of kindness in our martial arts organization. And what I always tell my students, you never know how one act of kindness towards someone can put someone on a totally different trajectory, not only for a day, but maybe for the rest of their life. And so why is kindness so important? Well, the fact of the matter is kindness is contagious. One of my favorite authors is Dr. Wayne Dyer, and in his book, The Power of Intention, he talks about the scientific study where they looked at people that were doing random acts of kindness and they measured their serotonin levels. Now, the serotonin in our body is basically something that is discharged. It's this hormone that's discharged when we do something or we receive something that is kind to us. And it's basically what the drug manufacturers put in those little pills to help people not become depressed. It's basically the feel-good hormone. So when someone receives an act of kindness, the serotonin level actually increases in their body, makes them feel better. And what's so great is that the people that do the act of kindness, their serotonin, that increases by the exact same level. So now you got two happy people out there. But here's what gets really interesting, is they also measure the serotonin levels of people that were observing those acts of kindness. And what they found is those elevated as well. So the act of kindness not only impacted the direct recipient, but it impacted the person that delivered it, and it impacted the people that observed it. Talk about being contagious. And what a great thing, if we want to be contagious, is do it in this way. So how can we spread acts of kindness in our lives, in our work environments, in our families, so that we can do what we can to make the world a better place? Well, I've got 3 ideas. And this is what I tell my martial arts students that when they first say, oh my gosh, 400 random acts of kindness, how can I do that? Well, here's the first one, is set the intention to do acts of kindness. You'll be surprised if you wake up in the morning and set that intention and you go out into the world, you'll start seeing many opportunities for you to actually follow through on that intention. You'll see people in need. You'll see areas where you can have a positive presence in someone's life. So set the intention. Number 2, slow down. Slow down. So often we're scurrying from one place to the other. We have our noses in our phones and we're not being observant of what's going on around us. But when we slow down, we take the time to observe our environment, and we take the time to connect with other people, we'll see those opportunities to generate acts of kindness. And finally, is to be courageous. Now, many of you may already know, but the root of the word courage comes from heart. So that heart-centeredness of being courageous enough to ask somebody if they need help, is sometimes can be uncomfortable, but it takes us to another level. But here's where it also gets important, is being courageous enough to ask for help ourselves, because we can't give what we don't have. So there you have it, my friends. There's 3 rules that we can use as we're out in the world today to generate acts of kindness, to make sure that we're making a positive impact, not only in lives of others, but those that observe us. And when we become leaders in kindness, now we have an opportunity to change the world. So if you've liked what you heard today, please like, love, share it, and make some comments on it, and make sure that you're out in the world today and this week doing acts of kindness. Go out there and be contagious. This has been Chris Natzke with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching, and we'll see you next time on the Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week.